Deep beneath the small city of Soldar in eastern Ukraine lies one of Europe's most extraordinary underground worlds, a vast labyrinth of salt mines that stretch for over 200 kilometers. These aren't just any mines, they're architectural marvels carved from crystalline salt, with chambers so massive they could swallow cathedrals whole. Welcome to the Soldar Salt Mines, where history, geology, and human ingenuity converge in the most spectacular fashion. Our story begins over 250 million years ago, during the Permian period. What is now eastern Ukraine was covered by an ancient sea. As this sea evaporated over millions of years, it left behind massive deposits of rock salt, some layers reaching depths of 300 meters thick. This geological gift would remain hidden until humans discovered it and began one of the most ambitious mining operations in European history. Salt extraction in the Soldar region dates back to 1881, though local legend suggests people knew about salt deposits here even earlier. The name Soldar itself comes from the Ukrainian words for gift of salt, a fitting tribute to the white gold that would define this region's identity. But why was this mine built? The answer is simple yet profound: salt was once as valuable as currency. Before refrigeration, salt was essential for preserving food, curing meat, and maintaining health. The Russian Empire, and later the Soviet Union, recognized the strategic importance of these deposits. By the early 20th century, Soldar had become one of the most important salt-producing facilities in Eastern Europe. The construction and expansion of these mines represents a triumph of engineering. Using the room and pillar mining method, workers carved out enormous chambers while leaving massive pillars of salt to support the weight of the earth above. Some of these chambers reach heights of 30 meters, roughly equivalent to a 10-story building, and span areas large enough to hold entire soccer fields. The mines maintain a constant temperature of about 14 to 15 degrees Celsius year-round, with humidity levels around 60%. These stable conditions, combined with the antimicrobial properties of salt, create an environment unlike anywhere else on Earth. The tunnels form an intricate network that, if laid end to end, would stretch from London to Paris. At their deepest points, the mines plunge 288 meters below the surface, deep enough to stack the Statue of Liberty nearly 3 times over. What makes Soldar truly unique is what happened beyond simple salt extraction. Over the decades, this underground realm evolved into something far more diverse. The Soviet Union, ever practical and ambitious, transformed sections of the mine into multiple uses. Deep within these salt caverns, the Soviets established an enormous storage facility. The constant temperature and low humidity made it perfect for preserving everything from important documents to food supplies. At one point, the mines housed strategic reserves that could sustain populations during emergencies. But perhaps the most fascinating transformation was medical. Speleotherapy, the practice of using cave environments to treat respiratory conditions, found an ideal home in Soldar. The mines were converted into underground sanatoriums where patients with asthma, allergies, and other respiratory ailments would spend time breathing the salt-saturated air. The unique microclimate, free from allergens and pollutants, proved remarkably effective. People would descend into these crystalline chambers for treatment sessions, surrounded by walls that sparkled like ice in the artificial light. The Soldar mines became more than just an industrial site, they became a cultural landmark. The largest chambers were transformed into venues for concerts and sporting events. Imagine the acoustics of a chamber carved entirely from salt, where musicians performed for audiences standing on floors that had been an ancient seabed. Football matches were held in these underground arenas, where the boundaries between sport and spectacle blurred in the ethereal light. One particularly magnificent chamber housed an underground chapel, complete with religious iconography carved from salt. Couples would travel from across the region to marry in this unique setting, their vows echoing off walls that had stood for millions of years before human existence. The mines also became home to sculptures carved directly from the salt walls, artwork that seemed to emerge from the rock itself rather than being imposed upon it. For scientists, Soldar represented an invaluable laboratory. Geologists studied the salt formations to understand ancient climate patterns and the evolution of prehistoric seas. The pristine environment allowed researchers to conduct experiments that would be impossible on the surface. The mine's isolation from cosmic radiation even made certain chambers ideal for sensitive physics experiments. The Soldar mines continued operating well into the 21st century, producing various grades of salt for industrial use, food production, and de-icing roads. At its peak, the facility produced over 3 million tons of salt annually, contributing significantly to Ukraine's economy. However, the mine's location in the Donbas region, an area that has seen significant conflict since 2014, has dramatically impacted their operation. The ongoing war has brought destruction to Soldar itself, and the fate of these underground wonders remains uncertain. What once attracted tourists and patients now stands in the shadow of geopolitical conflict, a reminder that even the most timeless geological formations cannot escape the turmoil of human affairs. The Soldar salt mines represent something profound about human capability, our ability to take what nature provides and transform it into something that serves multiple purposes: economic, medical, cultural, and scientific. These aren't just holes in the ground, they're monuments to human ambition, carved not from pride but from necessity and imagination. Whether they'll return to their former glory as healing sanctuaries and cultural venues, or remain primarily as historical artifacts of a different era, remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, the Soldar salt mines stand as testament to the extraordinary things that can happen when geology, history, and human creativity intersect deep beneath the Earth's surface. These chambers of crystalline white, silent, cool, and timeless, continue to exist, waiting for whatever their next chapter may bring.